This is 1 Horton Heath. The 310-acre site has 2 planning permissions for major developments, but having gained planning permission, the development stalled and were never actually delivered. In March 2018, Eastleigh Borough Council bought the entire site, stepping in where the private sector had failed to deliver. The council is committed to self-delivering the development, to doing development better and putting people at the heart of its vision. Community engagement is a really important part of this project. We undertook an extensive public consultation exercise in September of this year. That exercise was very much focused on talking about the key principles on the site, how we might use and develop the land. Responses from the local community raised a number of key issues, and during November we're holding our second public consultation session. This second session is much less about the principles, and we'd encourage you to watch or to re-watch a number of the videos that we've already got on our website that talk about the journey we've been through so far to get to this stage in the process. As we expected, the previous consultation did raise some concerns over key areas, and which we know that we have to work to resolve through the planning application process. We're now going to hear from Seb Willett of Clegg Architects, who's going to talk to us in more detail about some of the key components of the site and how they might look and feel and function in time to come.
1 Horton Heath is a living design, and we keep testing our ideas against what's best for the site and what's best for the community. In September we showed you some of the things that have broadly influenced how we're thinking about our proposed master plan. After that last consultation, community feedback has given us some new ideas. Today we'll be sharing more in-depth information, including junction improvements in the wider area, walking and cycling links, the new local centre, site drainage and the first new homes. We're standing behind our commitment to set aside and preserve the untouchable areas of 1 Horton Heath. We're protecting over a quarter of the 310-acre site and creating almost 40 acres of new biodiversity enhancement landscape. Ecology specialists and landscape designers have always been a key leading part of the 1 Horton Heath team, so that we can be sure that we're getting it right. In our September consultation, we talked lots about what's going on in the master plan and where we think it should go. As well as a lot of very useful feedback to those sessions, we've spent time talking directly with the neighbours and the parish council, and this has helped us to refine a list of important local priorities that we know we need to respond to. As well as all of the typical studies required by a development like 1 Horton Heath, we know that every edge of the site has its own specific set of conditions that we need to carefully look at. For example, where we're designing the first new homes in detail, we've included the residents on Burnet's Lane in our design process. It's important to bear in mind that most of the master plan is only an outline planning application, which means that most of the detail, other than the first new homes, will be designed later. As part of this, we're also writing a design code, which will help us set the standard of quality for those future detailed planning applications. The design code will become an approved planning document and serve as an instruction manual for the design team, borough planners and community stakeholders in the future. It will make sure that, as 1 Horton Heath is built over the coming years, it will follow the key principles that we're setting now, but still be flexible enough to encourage innovation and good new ideas in the future. The design code is supported by an illustrative master plan and technical parameter plans, which set where the development will go, what it will be, how it will connect, and minimum and maximums for key parameters like height and density. This drawing is our illustrative master plan, which shows where things will go. It starts with some of the existing parts of the site, with Chalcroft Farm in the south, the solar farm in the middle, and Fir Tree Farm in the north. Chalcroft Business Park is in the south, and Quobley Woods are in the very north. The existing village is to the east. Quobley Woods is also one of our ecological enhancement areas, where we're specifically setting aside land to improve biodiversity on the site. There'll also be another enhancement area in the south by Chalcroft Farm. Work is now well underway on building the new roundabouts at Allington Lane in the north and on Bub Lane over to Burnet's Lane in the south. The new local centre, which includes a community hub, shops, destination play, a new primary school and sports pitches, will be just south of Fir Tree Lane, linking the new and existing parts of the community. We'll be talking more about the local centre in a bit more detail later on. We've also identified some parts of 1 Horton Heath as being important areas for new commercial or employment uses, which will help provide a range of new local jobs in the area. The rest of the site will be new homes, around 2,500, at a mix of types, sizes, tenures and designs. Along with the local centre, the school and the employment and commercial areas, the detailed planning applications for these new homes will be submitted over the next few years. Our detailed planning application for the first new homes is being prepared at the moment, and we'll talk more about that later. We've had lots of questions about roads and traffic. Our transport consultants have been carefully assessing the existing junctions around the site. Jess Lloyd from Paul Basham Associates is going to talk through this in a bit more detail.
We're standing at a key local junction, and that is the one of Allington Lane and Fair Oak Road. As local consultants, we are aware of the congestion issues at this junction, in particular in the morning and evening peaks, with Allington Lane providing a route to the south and into Southampton. At the moment, the operation of the Allington Lane Fair Oak Road junction is affected by the nearby signal junction of Fair Oak Road, Sandy Lane, Blackberry Drive. As part of improvements at this junction, we would look to incorporate these two junctions to operate as one, most likely by providing signal control at Allington Lane, which are timed appropriately with the junction further up. We're also reviewing the opportunities to accommodate a longer right turn lane for those turning right into Sandy Lane, and also those who turn right into Allington Lane and travel south. This should help ease congestion along Fair Oak Road and accommodate more free-flowing traffic. Being local consultants, we are aware firsthand of some of the local traffic issues, including at this set of crossroads close to the site. There are some constraints at this junction, such as land availability. However, there are still some improvements which could be made to ensure this junction operates more efficiently and safely. This may include relocating the northern bus stop on Botley Road, which can currently obstruct the free flow of traffic northbound, particularly with vehicles queuing southbound, preventing any overtaking. We would also review the traffic signal phasing and timings, including of the pedestrian crossings or even pedestrian detection, which can reallocate green times more efficiently and can in turn make big improvements to traffic flow through this junction. So the council are already committed to delivering infrastructure early on, which is evident in the early road infrastructure that you can already see being built and constructed, whether that be the roundabout onto Allington Lane or the part of the link road between Bub Lane and Burnet's Lane. Whereas in this junction in particular, Eastleigh Borough Council have already actually provided and paid over £500,000 to Hampshire County Council Highways to enable them to provide and deliver some early infrastructure improvements, meaning those infrastructure improvements could be in place before significant levels of development to make sure that we really are trying to get things in as early as possible. Vehicle improvements aren't the only thing we're looking at doing here, as the theme throughout the development is sustainable modes of travel. We are looking to see if there are any more pedestrian or cycle-friendly improvements that could be provided in this area.
As well as looking at the various off-site road improvements that the council have already committed to, Jess and Paul Basham Associates have been thinking in detail about how the new development will connect into the existing community. The One Horton Heath vision of a linked community unlocks many new opportunities for alternative and sustainable transport, improved health and well-being, and a better and more accessible range of services for all.
This junction of Fairtree Lane and Burnet's Lane will provide a secondary access route into the One Horton Heath development. Now we're looking at this route providing access for pedestrians, cyclists, vehicles and buses. However, to accommodate all those users, we know that upgrades are likely to be required at this junction and also along that initial stretch of Fairtree Lane. In particular, to the west of Angelica Gardens, we're looking at ensuring we can provide designated pedestrian and cycle facilities where currently there are none. This is also likely to be a really attractive bus route to ensure that the buses can connect into the existing Horton Heath settlement area. That way there'll be no disconnection between new bus routes and the old bus routes. The improvements at this junction and along the stretch of Fairtree Lane were also considered as part of the previous planning applications on this site. However, we are looking to see if we can do anything more, anything further to encourage this as a really attractive, green, active travel corridor. Here we are at local footpath 7, which connects from the western side of Burnet's Lane. We see this as a really key route into the site for walkers and cyclists that will lead into the local centre from the rear, and also the new primary school that's proposed as part of the development. So as you can see from around us, the route is surrounded by a lot of vegetation, and therefore any improvements that we need to make along this route need to be mindful of that and not deter from the route's natural character. The route is also bordered on both sides by some existing housing, and we therefore again just need to ensure that any improvements aren't going to negatively impact those residential properties. To ensure the route is safe and accessible all year round, we would look at providing some form of low-level bollard lighting, and we'd also be looking at improving some of the surface finishing, so that way we can ensure that the route can be used in the rain, in the winter, and can be used by your dog walkers, but also your cyclists. So we do see this as a really key and strong route. And to the eastern side of Burnet's Lane, there's already an existing well-lit and bound path that connects into the existing Horton Heath residential area, so the route will have a seamless connection.
As Jess has explained, the way in which our master plan connects to its immediate context is very important. This is particularly relevant for the new local centre, which is one of the most exciting parts of our master plan. Lots of people have asked about this area after our last consultation, and although we aren't designing it in detail yet, we'd like to share some of our work in progress with you. We're showing the local centre in the eastern part of the site, where it will be easily accessed by both the new residents and the existing community at Horton Heath. Although we haven't got any fixed ideas yet, we have set aside enough land to make sure we can design to the full potential of the location and possible new uses. The local centre is made up of 3 distinct parts: a modern market square, a new 3-form entry primary school, and new community sports pitches. In the best tradition of Hampshire settlement vernacular, the local centre is located at the broad crossroads of some of the key routes of movement across the site. Fir Tree Lane sets the northern edge of the new centre. Footpath number 7 is an existing public right-of-way that runs from Burnet's Lane across the master plan and through the middle of the local centre, between the market square and the school. As well as the main link road through the master plan to the west, we're proposing a secondary road that will run up through the eastern half of the site to access the new homes here. This road runs through the local centre, connecting the school and community pitches to the market square, and may also become part of a new bus route through the site. As we're trying to make our new local centre an asset that benefits the existing communities in and around Horton Heath, the open space to the west of Angelica Gardens is a vital part of unlocking this connection. Footpath number 7 links into the bottom of it, and there is an informal connection between the existing houses. We know that this space is incredibly valuable to the local community, and we're being considerate of how it's used at the moment and how we must do something here that makes the most of the opportunity. As well as setting aside enough space to keep a safe and secure dog walking spot, we also think there's an opportunity to create an open-air common space that links off of the spine of the market square, maybe with a bandstand or a mini pavilion. We're still looking at how we keep these big open public spaces accessible and flexible for all kinds of future uses. We're then also looking at providing a destination play area in the southwestern corner, which puts it right at the heart of our site-wide natural play strategy. We're working closely with our landscape architects and ecologists to set out a series of walking and cycling routes around the site that not only connect into the wider area, but also create a safe and enjoyable environment at One Horton Heath for every type of user. Ecology-safe dog walking routes, child-friendly educational activity walks and adventure trails, mobility-safe and dementia-sensitive footpaths and resting stops, varied jogging routes including a measured 5k loop, experienced cyclists, commuter cyclists, learner cyclists, mobility scooters, tandem bikes. We're thinking about every part of the community as we're setting out these links. We're also still looking at what types of uses might actually go in here to help create that, so we're doing lots of market research with commercial and economic specialists, and of course asking for community input in our feedback forms. Lots of people have raised concerns about flooding in and around the site. As well as looking at the wider borough data, we've also been collecting specific on-site information to understand how and where water collects and eventually drains. Ross Blakemore is a technical manager at Eastleigh Borough Council and is going to explain in more detail.
I'm stood at footpath 7, which is located very close to existing Horton Heath and the newly proposed local centre. I'm next to one of the main watercourses running through the site here. When we're assessing drainage strategies for the new developments, these are the key elements we need to think about. First, we need to assess what the flood risk is and how the land reacts to rainfall events. The majority of the site is flood zone 1, which is the 1 in 1,000 year annual probability of river flooding. The isolated areas around these rivers are 1 in 100 or or greater probability of river flooding. When assessing how the surface water is managed in the post-development state, so once we've built the project, we need to think of many things. There's a hierarchy, what we call the SUDS management train, which considers the quantity of water and the quality of the water and how it's conveyed back to the watercourses. The first step of this is prevention, so that will include good design features that prevent watershed off of hard surfaces and prevents any pollutions and the like going into the water. The systems we're using for this is pervious paving, which, although it's a hard surface, allows the surface water to run through into granular beds that takes out pollution and suspended sediments and the like. Next one we've got is source control, which is a similar thing, but it's sort of networks of ditches and swales and rain gardens which effectively catch the water as they're shed off of the hard surfaces and run them through natural features as well as underground stone and granular features that again will cleanse and take a lot of the suspended sediments and soils out of the water as they are conveyed back. These are site control measures, so these are physically on the parcels, and then you get regional control measures, which is the final point of discharge effectively. All the water is managed through the on-site features, as I said, the pervious paving, etc. Runs into effectively a pipe network below the ground rather than running across the surface at an uncontrolled rate to a large basin at the end of the line, which collects and attenuates the water. It then has many aspects. It not only collects and holds the water before being discharged back into the watercourses at controlled flow rates, it also helps to settle any sediments and remove those from the final water being discharged into the watercourse. So that's how the basins will collect, manage and attenuate the water whilst removing sediments and improving the quality, and then discharging at a flow restricted rate back to the watercourses at those rates that we calculated pre-development, and they are the improved rates to ensure that there's no impact on localised flooding or any flooding wider to the site. Our development will not have a worse impact than existing situation on the local area and the local flooding and any drainage impacts.
Although most of the master plan is an outline planning application only, we're also preparing a detailed planning application for the first new homes at 1 Horton Heath. These are near to the new roundabout on Burnet's Lane, and this means that we can start building new homes as soon as possible to meet the local need. In September, we shared some of our work in progress of the site plan for the first new homes, and some of our sketch ideas for how the new homes might look. After those sessions, we spent time meeting and talking with the people who live nearest to this part of the site, including the residents directly opposite and the parish council. We had lots of good questions about architecture, urban design, landscape, ecology, drainage, roads, and we've taken it all on board as we've worked things up in more detail. Every part of 1 Horton Heath is slightly different. Flat fields and rolling paddocks, open countryside edges and existing back gardens, historic farmsteads and ancient woodland, all are sensitive in their own way. The site of the first new homes has a little bit of everything, so we've been able to look at how we might address similar types of places across the whole master plan in the future. If you've been following the project over the last few months, you'll know that we like to talk about placemaking at 1 Horton Heath. Although placemaking sounds a bit woolly and hard to define as an idea, we use it as a term that can answer those questions about architecture and planning and landscape and roads and how they all fit together. Like the examples of local places that we talked about in the last consultation, a great place is much more than just how the buildings look, or just how wide the roads are, or just what type of trees there are. These things are all balanced differently in different types of place, and that's what we're trying to show in the first new homes. We aren't just making drawings for a planning application. We want to sincerely show you what it will be like to live and work and play in 1 Horton Heath. One of our starting points for thinking about what the first new homes will be like is how they work with the existing houses along Burnet's Lane. We've met with the Residents Association and listened carefully to their concerns on visual impact, drainage and landscape character, and have come up with a specific character area that responds to these points. The Ruffets are small clusters of new homes set around farm-type courtyard spaces and sit behind the existing retained hedgerow. They're also turned so that they don't face directly across Burnet's Lane. We're also planning on making small strategic breaks in the hedgerow so that the existing residents can walk into the site and along a new footpath along Burnet's Lane to the local centre. This means that we can also install our new utilities along here and give the existing residents the opportunity to connect to new mains drainage if they want to. This is something that they've desperately needed for many years. Picking up on other local feedback, we're also looking at ways in which we can reduce both the speed and volume of traffic and return Burnet's Lane to a quieter rural way. The Ruffets link Burnet's Lane into the acre of open space at the heart of the first new homes. This acre is a key part of our design and reflects the strategy for the whole of 1 Horton Heath, making sure that there's high quality public realm within a short and safe walk of every front door. The acre is big enough to fit in a specially designed informal play space, which is close enough that everyone can benefit from it and overlook it for safety, but it's also separated enough to keep quiet private spaces feeling private. The acre forms the southern end of a spine of green space that runs up towards the local centre. We've designed this space to be our cycle greenway, which clearly prioritises the safe amenity of cyclists and pedestrians over cars. People can walk or cycle into the acre from the new roundabout on Burnet's Lane and continue their journey up to the new local centre away from any busy main roads, travelling along quieter lanes and landscaped areas. This also means that there's a separate network of cycleways that are safer and quicker than going along the main roads, and would be more encouraging for less experienced and new riders. As we've mentioned before, the new link road through 1 Horton Heath is a vital piece of regional infrastructure. Where it joins Burnet's Lane, the first new homes form the southern gateway to the whole master plan, so we've designed this space to create a welcoming place that reflects the vision and values of the whole project. The buildings have been designed to direct movement to the west along the new link road and discourage traffic from travelling down the quieter Burnet's Lane. We're proposing that these will be apartments, which means that we can have parking and cycle storage on the ground floors as part of our noise mitigation strategy. The new link road has been carefully designed to be 30 miles an hour only, with speed calming designed in from the very outset, rather than relying on road signs and enforcement. The edges of the road form part of our innovative drainage strategy, as Ross explained earlier, with surface water running off into rain gardens that run down towards the attenuation basins. Where the link road heads northwest and a secondary road heads northeast towards the local centre, they both cross the existing track that runs across the top of the first new homes into Chowcroft Farm from Burnet's Lane. This is an existing public right-of-way, which we're proposing to significantly improve by downgrading it to a shared cycleway and stopping all other vehicles from using it. The first new homes will be to the south, with the open watercourse to the north forming the southeastern link of the site-wide green infrastructure of 1 Horton Heath. The cycleway here will connect across the entire southern third of the master plan, helping to reinforce that secondary network of safe cycle and pedestrian priority routes that we mentioned earlier, and responding to the public feedback that we've had about good walking links. While the main master plan is an outline application only, the first new homes will be in full detail. This means that, in the time we have today, we haven't been able to show you everything that we've been working on. As part of the information that we'll post on the 1 Horton Heath website after the film, we'll include a few more drawings and details we haven't had time to show you today.
As you've seen, we're now at a really exciting stage of this project. All of the ideas, comments and feedback that we've had are beginning to come to life, and we're beginning to see how the development might look and feel and function as it emerges. Through our previous consultation and our work with the Development Forum, we're aware of a number of key issues that we need to work hard to make sure are resolved by this planning application. At the same time, we were really pleased to have received positive feedback to a number of issues and some very good suggestions for how we might alter our designs or add more detail to those designs to make sure that those issues are properly addressed. As before, we're actively seeking your comments, your feedback on everything that we've just presented and on anything that we've missed or not addressed at this stage. We want your views as to how this development proposal can be made better. We want 1 Horton Heath to be a great place to live and to work, and we want it to blend well with the existing village and community of Horton Heath. We need your feedback to help us achieve that ambition.